Hello friends, welcome back to the Accent Designer. My name is Osama Kazal, and today's video I'm going to be talking to you guys about product design and UX design interviews, how to prepare for these interviews. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So apply for a job, you get selected, congratulations. Now it's time to prepare for the interview and nail it in order to increase the likelihood of being accepted and getting an offer. The first thing we have to absolutely understand is what stage of the interview we're talking about. Are we talking about the screener call in the beginning with the recruiter, or we're talking about a technical interview with the hiring manager, aka design manager, or we're talking about a portfolio overview with the team members, or maybe just like a different kind of interview that I haven't heard of before. All right, so first things first, having this screener call with the recruiter in the very beginning. This is, by the way, one of the most important things that you have to master because it can easily send the wrong message. There are a few things that you have to consider and rehearse before having these screener calls. The first thing, recruiters are not only looking for your past, they already have the resume, they probably have your portfolio site, and they have your LinkedIn. So they probably know everything about your past. What they're looking for in a call like this is the ability to articulate this past as much as articulating your future goals and the reason why you're applying for this job, right? So one of the mistakes that a lot of people do, I'm guilty of it too. I used to do that without even knowing back in the day. When you get that first screener call with a recruiter, you keep talking about your past, where you worked before, your background, how you got into design, which is great if you know how to articulate all this succinctly. But at the same time, once people finish talking about this part, they don't really talk about their future goal. Why have you exactly applied for this job? Why are you interested in the company? So you have to make sure that any answer you give covers three things: your past, what you're currently working on, and your future goals. The second thing for the screener call, rehearse. One of the biggest mistakes, again, I'm guilty of it, is that a lot of people don't rehearse their call. And what happens is that you just end up being so redundant or just going in circles. And it actually turns out like a throw off for the interviewer. The person on the other side of the call doesn't really enjoy the conversation that much. Point number three in a screener call. Oftentimes, or 99% of the times, the recruiter will ask you, what's your salary expectations? And you have to be very accurate in your answer, because for the recruiter on the other side, it indicates how much knowledge you have of the market. For example, you can't be a senior designer and like asking for a junior design kind of level. It's going to be a huge red flag. And same thing for junior designers. You can't be applying for a junior design role and expect a senior design salary. It's not going to happen. Right, now moving on to step number two in the interview process, which is most probably going to be a technical call or a technical walkthrough with the design manager or the hiring manager. And in this call, it really depends on what company you're interviewing with, because I know like a lot of companies just tend to come up with all these crazy approaches, or just like different approaches to the hiring process, which is completely fine. It depends on what, on their needs and what they're looking for in a candidate. But I'm talking in general, like the very common practices out there. The second interview will be a technical interview where you have to present one or two of your projects. The first advice, prepare at least 2 case studies. Even if the person or the company asks for 1 case study, prepare 2, if not 3 in advance. And the reason is, what happens in an interview is the person or the interviewer keeps asking questions, and if the answers are not satisfying those questions and not satisfying what they're looking for, what the interviewer is looking for, that will send the wrong signals, right? And it's not going to help you a lot. So having another case study on the side will cover you if the case study you selected to present first didn't explicitly answer the questions. You can move to the second case study or mention something like, I actually prepared another case study that entailed similar challenges and we had to work around it. So I'm planning to walk you through these challenges after I finish this one. So this is going to be pretty much the plan for having another case study to cover the situation in case the first case study selected didn't really answer all the questions. Number 2, prepare a slide deck. Like, unfortunately, in my position now, I'm a senior product designer, so I got a chance to interview a couple junior designers. And one of the things that I noticed is a lot of people present their case studies from the folio side, from the portfolio side. So they keep scrolling up and down and just like walk me through one section and say, oh, this section, and they keep scrolling down further. Then, oh, this section that I was talking about earlier in the presentation. So it causes a lot of mess. And despite the fact that I try to pay as much attention as possible to give every candidate a fair chance, it's very hard to focus. It's really difficult to concentrate when the person is just like moving the screen like that without having it organized beforehand. So one of the things just to help keep things more concise is prepare a slide deck. And I know you might hear that and say slide deck is pretty outdated and old school and even boring. No, you actually have a very, very good room to be creative with the slides, add prototypes, GIFs. There are just multiple ways to make a slide deck visually more interesting. Number 3, in a case study walkthrough, even if you're presenting, and this one is specifically for junior designers, even if you're presenting hypothetical project, try to make sure there is some sort of conclusion or impact for this project. So if you work on something real, something that is live and people actually use it, you have to mention the impact, whether it's subscription, retention, positive feedback. Even if you received complaints, you have to, you need to have this courage to talk about the negative impact any product may have, explain this impact, and explain what you learn from it. So talking about the impact of your real products is number 1 priority in your case study. On the other end of the spectrum, if we're talking about hypothetical products or hypothetical projects and case studies for junior designers, there must be some sort of conclusion and future considerations at the end of the case study. Like after you walk the interviewer through the process, and believe me, the interviewer, they all know the process. The process these days is much more structured. Everybody pretty much knows it. So it's not enough for you to stand out as a designer. There must be some sort of creative spark alongside this process. Now moving on to the following step in an interview process. There are actually 2 scenarios here. It can be a portfolio review or it can be like a whiteboard challenge. And it really depends on the company because some companies still have this take-home assignment thing. And I honestly don't prefer this take-home assignment practice because it's a little bit unfair. You're asking a lot of people to invest their time and effort in something and they are not even compensated. And to be completely honest, certain companies do that for, you're just taking advantage of the number of candidates and they farm for free ideas. Unfortunately, I'm not saying all the companies do that, but a number of companies do this, and it's very disheartening, because you're putting like a lot of time and effort. You just can't get it. Like I can't really wrap my head around it. Like people are taking advantage of this, given all the challenges that we have to go through. It's insane. So, however, if we're talking about a big company, big reputable company, I would definitely go for it because they are not known for any shady practices. But in general, it's going to be another whiteboard challenge or a portfolio walkthrough with a panel of team members. So you're going to have more than one team member and they're going to be asking you questions. It's pretty similar to the first technical interview you had with the hiring manager, but this time you're going to have a number of team members. But you have to be very, very, very mentally prepared for a lot of interruptions, and people will ask you a lot of questions on the fly. And this time is completely different. The pressure is different because you're actually getting questions and challenging ideas from like more people at the same time. If you pass this interview, the chances of you getting selected and actually receiving an offer from the company is very high. There is just one missing piece, at the end of this interview, whether we're talking about a panel, walkthrough, or a whiteboard challenge, you have to ask questions. And before the interview starts, like the recruiter or the HR manager or whoever taking care of this process will send you a list of those who are going to attend the interview with most likely their LinkedIn profile. Try to visit their LinkedIn profiles and try to see the roles and try to prepare questions to each one of them. It will say a lot about you as a person, what kind of dedication and time you put into it. All right, I just wanted to make this video as concise as possible with as much information as possible. One last part is the whiteboard challenge. I'm planning to make an entire video just about whiteboard challenges because this one is a bit more extensive and in my opinion requires a separate video. So stay tuned for that. Before we leave, thank you very much for tuning in today and see you next time.